Hey guys, welcome back. So today I am going to show you how to assemble this Newair single tap kegerator. You know, I'm in Washington, so I have like almost no setup here. I had to bring a fermenter from LA so I would have one up here. So obviously I didn't have a kegerator, fermentation chamber, nothing. And just so happens Newair put out their own. So I snagged one and I'm going to show you guys how to assemble it. If you want to check out this kegerator more in depth, you can go to Newair's website. The link is in the description below, and you can use a discount code FLORA10OFF for 10% off there. This, I actually have a Sanke keg connection for it, but I'm going to add a ball lock connection to it for the kegs. But what's nice is I don't brew up here a ton, so we end up buying a ton of commercial beer, and one of my favorite breweries, Silver City, is down the road. So I'm just gonna grab a keg of my favorite Ride Spiral from them and have it on tap until I can actually brew some beer. So first things first, I'm going to actually flip how this opens. So it opens this way. Obviously where it is right now, it's better to go the other way, and this fridge door is totally reversible. Okay, so first things first, we've got to lay this guy on its back so that we can swap the door. By the way, I added these screws. I say screws, I meant wheels, before I even got it away from my doorstep. It comes with leveling feet and some back wheels, but these casters are always fun. We're just gonna remove this plate. So now you just pull it down, and then there's a little cap right here that you're gonna remove if you got sharp enough fingernails, or a blade. Blade will do. And that's where our other hinge goes. All right, so this just goes on the other side now. All right, so now we remove, I don't know if you can see it, but there's this screw here that we need to remove. That came out real easy. And now we put this in the other side. Okay, so now basically you just put the door back on. Slides easily into this pin, and then you just take all these little caps, put them on the other side, and install the door hinge. And we can reinstall, oh, we gotta unscrew this as well and move it to the other side. So pop that in, and then line up the screws and screw back in. So now the door is on the way I want it. So this is gonna have to sit for a couple hours before we can turn it on, just so that any coolant that, oh my God, that's what this is fucking, oh my God, I can't believe I still have that. Guys, I've had one of these sitting in my house and it just gets moved around. We didn't know what it was until now. Anyway. So yeah, you need to let it sit for a couple hours before you turn it on after you've moved it like that, because the coolant can settle in weird places and that it's not good. So we're gonna do the tower and the lines, and then we'll kick it on later. So if you've bought a kegerator before, they usually come with one of these CO2 holders that fits on the back. I personally like having my kegerators as far back to the wall as I can, but I think I might install this like on the wall over here. I'm just gonna have to find some studs. So let's not worry about that right now. They actually made this really easy on us. So I don't know if any of you have had to install lines and faucets, but it's a nightmare, especially if you don't have tiny hands like me. It's like a lot of feeding, insulation, and then you inevitably do it wrong and you have to pull it all apart. Yeah, so that's super fun. This is a single tap. I don't have a ton of beer up here, so I figured that would be okay for me. So anyway, all we're gonna have to do is basically feed this down through this hole. It's gonna be super easy. But let's get to it. You may want to throw away this if you don't want to, for the next 5 years, wonder what the hell this is, and just have it move from your garage inside your house to the shed, back to the garage. No one will throw it away because we don't know what it is, but that's what it is. Okay, so we've got our gasket here. This just goes like right over those screws, and then these screws are gonna go on there, and it's gonna be super awesomely simple. All right, so first thing we gotta do is just feed this through here. Make sure it makes it all the way down. And then this lifts up, and we can screw directly in. Should probably make sure that the way you screw it in is the way you want your faucet. I get ahead of myself sometimes and end up making mistakes because I don't think about what the hell I'm doing. Just hand tightening these in to make sure I'm hitting the holes. And then I didn't bring any tap handles up here because I didn't think about it. All right, so draft tower's done. So this is in here, obviously now. I guess I can take this Energy Star thing off. This right here is the guardrail. Just hand screwing in the screws for the railing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do next is attach my gas line to my regulator. And this is super easy. It just fits like this. You can heat this tube up if you want to make it even easier. And then you tighten the hose clamp. You're gonna wanna get this really tight so the gas doesn't escape. All right, so now this side goes on the Sanke keg attachment. It really works differently than a ball lock or pin lock situation because you do CO2 and beer in the same contraption. So gas goes in this side, beer comes out this side. This is a pressure release valve, and it basically just kind of fits on like that. And then the beer that we attached here will do the same for the top. So that goes like this goes like this, and this actually goes into the top of a keg. So if you've ever, like, I don't know, had a keg party and seen how there's only one opening, that's what this is for. So that's pretty much it. This will go onto the regulator. I don't have gas yet, so I'll show you guys that when I get it, but it's standard, you just screw it on. And I'll show you guys how to tap a Sanke keg once I get one. Okay, so now I have a full tank of CO2. This one actually comes with an empty tank, and then I just got mine swapped at Airgas because it's the easiest. You can also get them filled up if you have like a really nice one that you want to keep, but like a lot of the welding supply places don't actually refill. You have to find like more of a tavern supply place. So I have a keg of Alive and Amplified. I think that's what it's called. Let's see. Yeah, Alive and Amplified from my favorite brewery up here, Silver City, who are just down the hill. So I think we're only going to be up here for another week, but it's like 55 12-ounce cans of beer, so I think we're going to make it. One thing I wanted to mention is if you are going to put your CO2 on the outside of the kegerator, you're going to have to feed your gas line from the regulator, which will sit on your tank through these holes in the back. And those are like slightly insulated, and it's just like the easiest way to do it. I'm gonna leave mine in for now because I seriously only think that I'm gonna have this one keg, so I'll have space. One reason you might not want to keep your CO2 in your kegerator is because you'll get less use out of it until you like pull it out to standard room temp. CO2 basically shrinks when it's cold, so it seems less full, essentially. Anyway, so I'm going to connect my regulator to my CO2 tank first, and I have some soapy water to test all my connections. Pull the cap off. So this is a D style coupler, also known as a Sanke keg coupler. I've been calling it Sanke forever because I thought it was fancy. Sanke. I've heard of many people say it today. But that's technically like a slang term. It's a D style. So this, with the washer already in it, there's an extra washer there, goes here. And this has some Teflon tape on from like previous customer, I guess. It's not from me. But you can Teflon tape if you're worried about leaks. I think I may as well right now because I think this tank is gonna last forever. So you can Teflon tape. You go basically the way that you are gonna be spinning your bolt. Probably telling you the wrong way because I always do this wrong. If you've seen any of my other videos where I'm using Teflon tape, I usually have to undo it and redo it. I'm not gonna put a ton on there. I usually actually don't use Teflon tape on those, just because I can't ever find mine in the brewery, and my connections are usually pretty great. So I just hand tighten at first. One thing I do like to do when I'm ratcheting this down is kind of angle the regulator to the back so that when you're wrenching it down, it'll pull it forward, and then it's like the perfect spot. Let's see, I was given this insanely large wrench. Let's see if this one actually works. I like this one better. Yeah. Ooh, I need one of these at home. See what I mean? It kind of like moves it into the place you want, but I didn't do it enough. You can also kind of hold it, but I'm always worried of like, I'm gonna hold it too tightly. All right, so in theory, this should all be sealed. First thing I'm gonna test is this connection, and I'm closing this valve so that I can just make sure that, so it's not gonna leave there. And this is literally just like a bunch of water with a drop of soap in it. So easy. Best way to test. Looks like we are doing good with this seal on that. Make sure that seal's good. Looking good. All right, so I'm releasing some pressure into the lines. That seal is great. And then final one. This wasn't even tightened very well. I actually am gonna tighten this more. But it's also sealed. Alrighty, looks like we are good to go to actually tap this keg now that everything's wet. Now, to be honest, this is gonna be my first time ever tapping a D-style coupler, so wish me luck. I also have to watch YouTube videos to learn how to do things. First thing I'm gonna do is reattach this liquid line to the coupler, which just screws on. I had a hell of a time doing it earlier, but I think that was just operator error. So liquid, gas, pretty obvious on the YouTubes. It says you need to make sure that you're pressurized before you tap it because you don't want beer in your gas line, which I think a lot of us have probably experienced if you're a home brewer. So this beer is cold. It's about 36 degrees. And the colder it is, the less likely you are to kind of explode everything. CO2, as I said before, expands when it gets warmer. So if you're trying to can beers, you always want it to be super, super extra cold, because if not, you're gonna have foam everywhere and no one wants that. Okay, so this is basically like a quarter turn, and then you pull it and push it, essentially. So, quarter turn, pull, and tap. And there it is. You can see it going. All right, let's pour beer. You guys can see that there's actually shelf areas for this. So if you have like smaller kegs, or you just want to make this a beer fridge if you don't have a keg at the point that you are storing stuff in it, there's actually 2 shelves that go in there, which is kind of cool. You can also use this as a fermentation chamber because it gets up to 75 degrees you can set it at. What I really like about this one, got a fail safe if you tend to forget about pouring beers. Sometimes you gotta turn up your CO2. I usually set mine around 10 for serving pressure. Proper pour. Takes a little bit to figure it out. There it is. Well, now I feel super cool. I have commercial beer on tap in my house. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that if you get a kegerator and it happens to have a commercial coupler and you're trying to serve commercial beer, that this video helps, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.